Authenticity and vulnerability. Two of the most important core values I hold true to my life. And so you can only imagine how important it is for me to try and stay authentic and real in my conversations. I try and go beyond where I think I need to go in order to be able to portray myself in the way that is true and right and good. And for many years, for a lot of years, what I did is I just downplayed my own importance. In my attempt never to overestimate myself, in my attempt never to show up as more than I am, I've always tried to show up as less than I am. I've always tried to say, okay, Danny, you may have been involved in these things, but never, ever, ever let anybody try to believe that you're more than you are. Because my basic core value, my basic belief is always under-deliver, always under-promise and over-deliver. Never over-deliver and under-promise. And in fact, one of my big pet peeves is when people just go on and on and on about who they were, mostly with made-up stories of who they were, because they exaggerate and they stretch the truth a little bit and maybe even lie a little bit as to how their sense of importance is. And I understand, because the world is so noisy, and in order to make any sound in a world full of noise, you have to sort of speak tall, speak loud, speak tall, stand tall. And yet for me, one of the things that's been always so important is to be true to who I am. A couple years ago, I realized that in downplaying myself, I wasn't being true to who I was either. What happened is I wasn't really saying the things that I felt or the opportunities that I've had and the situations that I've done and what I've done in those situations. And even worse than that, what it started to happen for me is I started to forget that that's who the person I was, or who I am. Who I am is who I am. I started to believe, oh no, you're nothing really. You didn't really do that. It was part of a team and that was great. And I always believed that. I mean, for God's sake, I've written a book called The Mosaic, which is about the coming together of all the pieces. So here's where life is interesting. Life is interesting when our core values come in opposition to each other. I have one core value of never trying to oversell myself, never trying to be something more than I am. And another core value now that is rising up within me, which is to own the space that I have. And to not worry about what people say or not worried about what people think, but just show up as I am, clear and strong and full. Allowing myself to just stand in the place that I stand with full authenticity. So you can only imagine my dismay when in the last few weeks I've had two conversations, one by email and one face-to-face, and both of them were, well, the email wasn't so generous, but the one conversation I had was very generous and very kind. The email said, "You were never in the place that you say you are, and you're leading people to believe that you had an opportunity that you didn't have." I wanted to rationalize. I wanted to answer. I wanted to give myself the rightness of belief to say, no, you weren't there when it happened. And he didn't really tell you what he told me. And it's okay. And I never presented that I was going to take over $1 billion company. But then what happened is through the course of that conversation, through the course of not that conversation, but through the course of me having said that, it started to get exaggerated in podcasts. It started to get exaggerated in introductions. It started to get exaggerated in the way people thought about me. And I wondered to myself, well, maybe I'm putting out something that isn't quite true. Let me put it on the record. The offer that was given to me is you're going to push a broom and you're going to work your way up to what I believe will be the top of this company. If you listen and you follow and you do as I train you to do, I believe one day you will sit in my seat. Now, people have said to me, well, he never told me that he told you that that's what was going to happen. And in fact, he was disappointed in you for some of the decisions you made. Of course he was, because I chose not to do it. And just because he never told you what he told me doesn't mean he didn't tell me that. And yet I don't want to rationalize it. I want to take it to heart. And I want to share with you today something very important. I don't care what you think about me. I care what I think about me. I care that I stand in my truth. I care that I stand in my place. I care that I believe in a man who I believed in, who said to me, I believe you can be this. And I don't want to let anybody else tell me what to do. In my Zen cards that I wrote years ago for Hay House, on the card that's called Truth, it says, what is, and what is not, is not. No amount of wishing and wanting will ever change that simple fact. I want to be what is. I then had a second conversation around my position at Hay House with my brother. My brother he approached it in a very kind way. He said, just look at the way you're talking and look at the words you're saying. And here, let me just say this very clearly in this video, because if I've portrayed myself incorrectly, please know that I am incredibly sorry. I was a director of business development at Hay House. When I came, they were doing $3 million a year. When I left, we were doing $100 million a year. The man who runs Hay House and I were working together to open up new avenues and new venues. I brought things to the table that he couldn't bring, and he brought things to the table that I couldn't bring. And together, we built something that was amazing, along with all of the other people that we had that were supporting us, that were there to help us, that were building it along with us. They were as important to the whole thing as I was and as he was. But together we were all doing it. And yet what I want to do is I want to stand in the place where my position, my place, the director of business development, was initiating new products, new people, new ways to draw bigger authors, new ways to have bigger teams. And that I stand in my place and own that and not say, no, I didn't do anything, which is what I said for a long time. Being authentic and being vulnerable are such beautiful qualities. If I've misled anybody into ever thinking that I'm more than I am, please know, if you know me at all, you know that's not my intention. If you don't know me, please know me now. It's never my intention to be something other than I am. I am what I am. I'm full of amazing possibilities and full of incredible defeats. There are things that I can't do that simple people can do, and there's some things that I can do that other people can't do. I own that, I respect that, and I stand in my place to say, this is me, this is who I am, this is what I want, this is what I'm bringing to this conversation. And I want to invite you to comment below and to talk with me about authenticity. What does it really mean? How does it feel for you? Have you ever put on a resume that you did more than you were? Have you ever told somebody a story that makes you appear more than you were? It appears that I have. And I want this video to stand in place for all time to say, this is what I've done. This is who I am. This is what I've done. I was given the opportunity to start pushing a broom and possibly work my way to the top, to run a $1 billion company. I came in when a company was at $3 million and we helped grow it together to $100 million. And I brought a lot of initiatives and a lot of direction and a lot of focus and a lot of courage and a lot of places to open doors that would never have been opened without me. That's all. So in this place of authenticity, in this place of vulnerability, I ask you, who are you really? What is it that you do well? And can you stand between those core values, the war of the two core values, where this is what I do well, and this is what I do not want to be perceived as by other people? I want to be what I am. I want to be centered in myself. I want to be strong in myself. I want to be able to tell you this is me without making me appear more than I am or less than I am. In my book, The Mosaic, the gardener says the only time we have problems with somebody else's garden and the weeds that grow in someone else's garden is when those gardens exist within me. And so maybe my pet peeve of watching other people show up inauthentically is because I have it in myself. For that, I thank the world for these two conversations. I thank you for giving me the time to share with you vulnerably and honestly who I am and what I've done. I don't want to be held back by not standing in my place, and I don't want to be pushed above by people thinking I'm more than I am. I am what I am. I learned that from the great teacher Popeye growing up. Okay, that's it for now. Thank you so much.